I am glad that our first reading today is from the book of Jonah, because it is the proper background to what Jesus is saying in today's gospel, that he would not give any signs to the Pharisees who were demanding a sign from him. No sign will be given them except the sign of Jonah. Question: how is Jonah supposed to be a sign? Unfortunately, the first reading is already in chapter 3 of the book of Jonah. You need a little bit of a background in order to know how Jonah finally got to Nineveh, the capital city of the mighty Assyrian Empire that captured Damascus and the northern kingdom of Israel around 722 before Christ. The book of Jonah is actually called the story of the reluctant prophet. Ako, I'd rather use the Tagalog, ang propetang pasaway. Why? Because the first time God called him in chapter 1, in order to preach to Nineveh, instead of obeying God, what did he do? He ran away from God. He took a boat at Joppa and went to the opposite direction of Tarshish, as far away as he could get from Nineveh, where God was sending him to. Again, bakit? Well, because he found what God was asking him to do ridiculous. He felt that he was being asked to carry out what we today might call a mission impossible. Biro mo, can you imagine an Israelite prophet being asked to preach in the largest city in the Assyrian Empire? All the other prophets were sent only to Israel or to Judah. Para ba akong nagpadala ng pare to China in order to tell the Chinese Communist Party that what they're doing in the West Philippine Sea is wrong? Ewan ko lang kung meron akong pare who will obey me if I tell them to do that. How would he even communicate? The prophet Jonah spoke Hebrew. Yun ang lingwahe nila. And the Assyrians, they spoke Akkadian. He was a foreigner. He would be a total stranger. Paano siya magko-communicate? Besides, sabi siguro niya sa sarili niya, sino bang makikinig sa akin? Who would listen to him? Why would they even bother to listen to what this Israelite God called Yahweh was asking him to say, when these Assyrians, they had their own gods and goddesses? But I think the more important issue for Jonah was, why would Yahweh, the God of Israel, even care about these pagans, these Assyrians anyway? Jonah, of course, presupposed that Yahweh, the God of Israel, was God only for Israel. But he did not know makulit din si God. He did not realize that God would not quickly give up on him. He was very persistent. Jonah ran away. I told you a while ago, he boarded the ship and he was pursued by a storm Binagyo sila sa dagat. And then when the captain found out na siya pala yung may balat, the jinx, they threw him overboard. And God had him swallowed by a big fish. And where would the big fish deliver him? Right at the shore of Nineveh. Nakakatawa itong kwentong ito. It's a comedy. Then God repeated his request. Dinala na siya sa Nineveh, pinapakiusapan pa siya ni God. And God would say, Jonah, would you please preach to the people of Nineveh? I imagine Jonah saying to God, well, do I have a choice? I'm here already anyway. I might as well do it. Sa Tagalog, ano pang magagawa ko? Eh, andito na nga ako. Sige na nga. Parang inutusan ka ni God and you say, sige na nga. And the writer says, usually, it should take 3 days to go around the whole city of Nineveh. How much time did it take Jonah to go around the city? 1 day only. Minadali niya yung trabaho. He did not even do very much explaining. At ang mensahe niya, 1 sentence lang. Ganito, 40 days more, Nineveh shall be destroyed. And lo and behold, pinakinggan siya. And the people repented. And they were converted. The mission impossible became a mission accomplished. Pero the writer would tell us later on na hindi masaya si Jonah, even if they got converted. He was not happy with the result. Why? Because when God saw that the people of Nineveh repented, binawi niya yung punishment. And Jonah was upset about it. He was angry. He wanted to see all of them dead. Jesus actually gives a second sign, aside from Jonah in the gospel. He spoke about the Queen of Sheba. That's the Ethiopian queen who visited King Solomon. If in the story of Jonah, it is the foreigners who repent. In the story of Solomon, it is a foreign woman also who listens to the wisdom of Solomon. This is a message that is consistent with what Matthew tells us in his Christmas story. Di ba sabi ni Matthew, ang unang bisita sa Bethlehem, the first visitors were foreigners. The 3 magi, wise men from the east. Yung si Herodes, the Jewish king, ang lapit-lapit niya, di niya matagpuan yung bata. Yung magi, galing pa sa malayo, silang nakatagpo. And John is implying this also when he says in his prologue, he came unto his own, and his own people rejected him. St. Luke tries to emphasize the irony that they were still looking for a sign as if the Son of God himself was not enough for them. It is like looking for your keys. Na-experience mo na bang hinahanap mo yung susi mo, tapos hawak-hawak mo pala? Naranasan nyo na ba na hinahanap ninyong salamin ninyo, tapos suit-suit mo na pala? Anong tawag dyan? Kayo nang bahala. How can you get lost with all the signs around you? It could only mean you're not looking. Or it could only mean you see only what you want to see. Sa ating responsorial psalm, the psalmist is saying that God is more pleased with pure and steadfast hearts than with sacrifice and burnt offering. Why? Because it is only with the heart that people can see God acting in their lives. Hindi ba sinabi ni Jesus in the Beatitudes, in the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God."